Good morning and welcome to Solent Sports News. My name is Colin Minnis and here are your latest headlines. Anthony Joshua is due to weigh in this afternoon ahead of a career-defining fight against American Jermaine Franklin at the O2 Arena in London. By the time the Brit enters the ring, it would have been 224 days since he last had a competitive fight. He returns to the O2 after 7 years away, or 2,472 days to be exact. The American, Jermaine Franklin, is desperately searching for a victory to reignite his career after his consecutive defeats to Alexander Usyk. The new straight-talking Joshua had a scary message for his opponent before the fight.
This guy says he's going to knock you out. You've heard it a million times as well, but you're always a scout. And there will be people that say this is a great time to be fighting Anthony Joshua, but maybe...
It's the worst time.
Exactly. Do you feel that way?
Yeah, the more he talks, the bigger grave he digs for himself. But it is what it is, isn't it? I could say a lot of things about him, but I respect my opponent. It's not for me to talk, it's for you to do all the talking. It's for me to do my job on Saturday.
Joshua certainly looks up for it, doesn't he? Well, the individuals guilty of committing human rights abuses will no longer be able to take ownership of Premier League teams. Rights abusers have been added to the list of disqualifying events in the owners and directors test after the league received criticism after allowing the takeover of Newcastle United by the Public Investment Fund. To Oscar Pistorius now, where he was jailed for 13 years for the murder of Reeva Steenkamp. He could be released today. He has so far served half of that sentence and he could be granted parole. The board will consider statements from Pistorius, the Steenkamps and from a range of social workers and prison officials. They will look at his behaviour, his state of mind and the extent to which he has been rehabilitated. However, Reeva's mother is expected to oppose the parole this afternoon. To tennis now, where Carlos Alcaraz has breezed past home favourite Taylor Fritz 6-2, 6-4. This continues Alcaraz's 10-match and 20-set win streak. The Spanish superstar competes in the semi-finals on Saturday against Italian number 1 Jannik Sinner. Continuing with tennis, Daniil Medvedev takes on Karen Khachanov of Kyrgyzstan tonight in Miami in the first of the semi-finals. If Medvedev makes it through tonight's match and Alcaraz can get past Sinner, the final will be a repeat of the Indian Wells Championship final. On to motorsport now, and F1 moves from the sands of Saudi Arabia to the surprisingly damp and dreary skylines of Melbourne. Fernando Alonso has been the talk of the paddock since his penalty controversy in Saudi. He silenced what remains of his doubters by putting his Aston Martin top of the times in free practice 2. And following on from the excitement of Australia, the world of F1 was somewhat darkened by Nelson Piquet's racial slurs. The Brazilian has been fined for his actions and has been made to apologise to Lewis Hamilton. Ukrainian athletes will not be allowed to compete in qualifying events for the 2024 Olympics if Russians are taking part, according to a government minister. This comes among threats from Ukraine to boycott the Paris Games if bans on Russian and Belarusian athletes are not upheld. The IOC currently recommends that these athletes instead compete under a neutral flag. That's all from me for now. I'll be back at 1:30 with your latest updates. Remember, you can keep up to date on our website with all of these stories and more at solentjournalism.co.uk.